Shalom, everyone. This is Rabbi Allen, and we are continuing our weekly portions of Yeshua in the Torah. And this week, our Torah portion is Balak. And so it comes from Numbers 22:2 through 25:9. And the corresponding Haftarah portion is in the book of Micah. So we see a few characters in our portion. First of all, we see Balak. That's why it's named Balak, the portion, because his name is in just the very beginning of the portion. Balak was a pagan king. The next person we see is Balaam. Balaam is a pagan prophet. And so Balak, the king, sends for Balaam specifically to curse the nation of Israel. And so God does something very special here. He intervenes. And instead of Balaam being able to curse Israel out of his mouth, God changes his words and makes him speak the heart of God. And so what he does is, on four separate occasions here, he gives four prophetic blessings of Israel instead of cursing them. And we have to realize God can do that. You know, God chooses not to make us speak only his heart. He chooses not to force us into making decisions that only he likes. He gives us free choice in our lives. And here's why. He doesn't want us to be mindless robots that would walk around praising him and loving him all the time just because he wants us to love him. He gives us free choice because he wants us to make that free choice to love him and praise him and worship him. And he wants to, from our free choice, choose to accept the Messiah. See, he could make us all accept the Messiah, but he doesn't want to do that. He wants us to do it from our hearts. So, God does this with the pagan prophet Balaam. Balaam, like I said, there are four times that he gives blessings instead of curses over Israel. Now, blessing number 3 is actually very familiar to most people that attend synagogue services, because blessing number 3, actually from that one line of blessing, we get a portion of liturgy that we now call Matovu, how goodly. Matovu is read and chanted in every synagogue at every Shabbat around the world. And so it's from Numbers 24:5, where Balaam speaks over Israel, the nation of Israel, and says, "How goodly or how lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel." And so from that line, we now have a portion of liturgy, and the ironic thing is, it is actually a portion of liturgy, but it was a blessing by a pagan prophet that spoke over Israel. Today, I want to look at the blessing number 4 and relate that to Messiah Yeshua. Because the blessing number 4 was actually a prediction of Messiah that would come out of the people of Israel. And so I want to read this from the book of Numbers, Numbers 24:17. And this is what Balaam speaks over the nation of Israel. Instead of cursing them, this is what God has him say. "I see him, but not now. I behold him, but not near. A star shall come out of Jacob. A scepter shall arise out of Israel. And so the ancient rabbis have said that this blessing is about the Messiah to come. As a matter of fact, both of the Targums of Israel speak of the star and the scepter as being the Messiah. Jewish midrashes speak of these words from Balaam alluding to the Messiah. So much so that the rabbis have believed that Balaam's blessing was about the Messiah to come, that in the 2nd century, Rabbi Akiva, who is considered one of the greatest rabbis in Jewish history, even though he falsely proclaimed a man to be the Jewish Messiah, even though his name is still lifted up today. The irony is that Jewish people today that have accepted Yeshua are downcast, are spoken bad about. And yet even Rabbi Akiva today, even though it has been proved through history that Rabbi Akiva proclaimed a false Messiah. And so Rabbi Akiva realized that Numbers 3:17, that the 4th blessing was in fact about the Messiah, because he proclaimed a man named Shimon bar Kosva to be the Messiah, and he changed his name to Bar Kachba. Now, Kachba means star. And so the connection here was Rabbi Akiva knew that that blessing about the star was about the Messiah, but he proclaimed a false Messiah and gave him the name of Star, telling his Jewish people that he was the Messiah. Now, so we have seen throughout Jewish history that this blessing is about the Messiah to come. Even the rabbis have agreed that. Well, if we go to the Brit Hadashah in the New Testament, we see in the book of Revelation, at the very end of the New Testament, from Revelation 22:16, Yeshua said this. Yeshua said, "I am the root and offspring of David. I am the bright and morning star." So the star that the prophet, the pagan prophet, centuries and centuries and centuries earlier than Yeshua was even born, he was talking about the bright and morning star that would come out of the people of Israel. And that bright and morning star is Yeshua. So that's it for this week's Torah portion. I want to remind you that if you like this video today and you'd like to share it with friends and family, you can copy and paste the address up above and send it in an email to people, or you can just, if you saw this through your Facebook page or your profile page, you can like it on Facebook and you can share it on your posting, and then your friends and family that are friends on Facebook will get a chance to see this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. There's a little thumbs up below you can click. I'd love to hear some comments from you. If you'd like to comment on this video or some of my other videos, you can subscribe to my channel. My channel is Rabbi on the Fly. Below, you'll see a little picture of me. You'll see a subscribe button. You can click that button and you will have access to all of my videos that I have produced well over the last year of Yeshua in the Torah. There's a little bell there. You can click that and you'll get a signal every time I release one of my YouTube videos. So, until next week, this is Rabbi Allen, and I am bidding you peace, shalom, shalom.